for some of the homework problems on page 453, 454, numbers 22, 30, and 32 were homework problems. So I'm going to do some problems that are like that. So on this particular problem, let me look, I forget what the directions were. Okay, we're expressing x and y in terms of a trig ratio. So that means we need to get something like x equals something and y equals something. So I'm going to start with the x. So if we take, if we want to involve theta and the x and the 28, then that's going to involve cosine because that would be adjacent over hypotenuse. So I would say cosine theta equals the adjacent is x, the hypotenuse is 28. And I want to solve that for x, so I get x equals 28 cosine theta. So now I have x in terms of a trigonometric ratio of theta. And do something similar for y. So that's going to involve sine. So sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So then we have y equals 28 sine theta. So that's all you're doing on a problem like that. So you have 22 to do. I'm going to do numbers 31 and 33. I didn't do any that were like this. And what you're going to have to make use of for this one is the idea of the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So this is kind of seeing that in action. So if this is the 30-degree angle and this is the 60-degree angle, you've got to know, you got to memorize these. 1, 2, square root of 3. And then for the 45, 45, 90, because I know you could plug these into your calculator, but you got to know them. You got to have them memorized. It's really going to be hard for me to assess that you have them memorized, but I'm telling you, anybody going on in math, you've got to have these memorized. So 1, 1, square root of 2. Okay, so these are the ratios. So when we do sine of 30 degrees, we're going to take, here's my 30-degree angle. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so I get 1/2. Cosine of 60 degrees, here's 60 degrees is up here. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's also 1/2. Sine of 60 degrees, so here's the 60 degrees, so sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, so square root of 3 over 2. And cosine of 30 degrees is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, so square root of 3 over 2. And then you do the math. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. And square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4, so we get 4/4, which is 1. So that's the answer. Down here, cosine of 30 degrees. Oh, we're not even using the 45, 45, 90, but you might have some that you do. Cosine of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2, but we're squaring that. And sine of 30 degrees, so here's 30 degrees, opposite over hypotenuse is 1/2, and we're squaring that. So when we square this, we're going to get 3 when you square the square root of 3. 3/4 minus 1/4, which is 2/4, which is 1/2. And that's your answer. So that's how you do those last few problems from the assignment.